Hello. There we go. All right. We're going to do this again. It's going to do it again. It's going to be great.
Yeah, okay. I can hear it now. So I'm redoing the intro. Is that what you're saying?
Si, senor.
Okay. Tell me when. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Monday night. It is the Geek, Sully, and the Redneck JT. We are here with Avenger Pretenders, not two Ewoks in the park, and you know why? Because this week we start reviewing the new Marvel series, Ironheart. Some good stuff, my friends, trust me. So do me a favor, grab yourself something to munch on and your favorite drink. Sit back in that beanbag chair and strap yourself in because it's going to be a bumpy ass ride. Sully, it's all yours.
See, you just did that on purpose.
I did that time.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Avenger Pretenders. Yes, we have sound. I think what happened is because we haven't used the template for Avenger Pretenders in quite some time, when that power outage hit, I never reset it. So I had to fix it. But unfortunately, you never know when it's going to go kaboom.
Gotta love computers.
Yep.
Love to hate them, maybe.
It's how we roll. So yes, we're going to be talking about Ironheart, and we're talking about the first two episodes. We're not going to talk about the third one. That will be next week. We'll talk about 3 and 4 next week, because then we're just going to do 5 and 6 the following week after vacation. Or depending on what happens, we might get them all done in one shot. Who knows? I guess it all depends on the time and how quickly we go through this. So,
right.
If you haven't watched Ironheart yet, why?
You really need to.
Yeah.
You really do. It's not. So far, it is not what I expected it to be.
What did you expect it to be?
I don't know. I mean, the way that I heard about it is, to me, it seemed like it was going to be a continuation of the Iron Man thing.
Uh-huh.
So, the suit was going to already be there and be perfect and blah, 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 and everything else. Well, that's not the case.
Well,
at all. In the series. Now, I do have a question for you. I just need to confirm something for me.
Yes.
If you would.
Mm-hmm.
Our main character here is Riri.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Riri in one of the episodes of What If in season 3?
Yes. She was also in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Which is where we first saw her.
I would have to re-watch it.
Yes. She
remember that.
She helped Shuri out big time in that movie, where she was helping against the attack from Atlantis and Namor the Submariner. That is how it rolls. Everything got shifted on me. Your camera shifted, like everything shifted.
I didn't move anything.
No, you didn't.
I thought that was the case because in What If, it was the one where they were trying to beat the one guy who was controlling everything with all the robots and everything with his mind.
Yes, Vision
and all that good stuff. So
Vision was one of them anyway. But but yes, so same rules apply. She made her own suit. She is the female equivalent of Tony Stark, and
without the money.
Right, without the money. She doesn't have any money whatsoever. And this first episode, so it takes place after Wakanda Forever, which is good.
Okay.
And they do, I think they wrapped it up really nicely of her giving a little update of what's been going on with her in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, saying that, she worked overseas. She was one with the Stark grant as well, which she technically got during Civil War, if you think about it. And then the snap happened, and oh boy. Oh boy.
Everything kind of went crazy.
A lot of callbacks to characters in this. So she goes to MIT. Break some eggs.
And this is, if I remember right, this was her 4th year?
I think so.
Because she would have been going into her 5th if they hadn't done what she would have done. She would have been going into her 5th year there.
Yes. And it's interesting what she does, because like I said, she does give that flashback of working abroad, quote, abroad, on the Stark scholarship grant thing, where she was being mentored by Shuri from Wakanda, also known as the new Black Panther, until T'Challa's son is old enough and becomes the Black Panther. That's a whole different ball game that we're not even going to get into, because I don't even think they're going to cast that, because I think after the multiverse saga is done, they're going to go start over with all new actors. It'll be interesting, to say the least. But she she's a genius. We know she's a genius. She's They compare her to Tony Stark a lot.
Yes.
I'm not sure why, though.
Her genius. I mean, you think about it. She's creating this stuff from scratch.
Yes. Well, that's
the outfit, all the operations of the outfit, the AI implementation and everything is all, all of that is from scratch. Well, the AI she's going to have to recreate, but that's another part of the show.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you look at the things that she's accomplished, and it's all been experimental, because nobody's got Stark's records. If they did, they're not going to turn them over to anybody.
Right. And,
so she's figuring all this stuff out on her own.
And even with that, like with this episode, it was called Take Me Home. So she does some boo-boos, sets some things on fire.
When you plug something in and things start exploding around you, it's usually not a good sign, and you should probably pull that thing that you plugged in.
It was an accident, I swear. I swear it was an accident. But this is what I really liked with the flashback, is they brought you up to speed on her and her friend Natalie. And we'll get into Natalie in a little bit. But with Natalie, they were best friends. And all you're really seeing is like as the kids would say, a Facebook memory.
A flashback.
Probably the best way I can put it is just a video memory of the two of them talking, having fun, growing up together, all that other good stuff. And they classify Riri as one of the best geniuses in the world. Next to Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Tony Stark, Hank Pym,
she's right up there with them.
Yeah, she's like a combination of all of them. And even her friend Natalie's like, you are gonna be better than them, no matter what. And then, of course, Natalie goes and does the female thing. I want a night with Thor. Listen, I'm just gonna put this out there.
Well, I mean, he is a good-looking guy.
Most people, male or female, would love to have a night with Thor. Just saying.
Sorry, I'd have to pass up on that.
You know what? No, I wouldn't pass up on it. The reason I wouldn't pass up on it, I'd like to go have a drink. He'd outdrink me, but it would be great. It'd be a great time.
Well, yeah, a night like that, yeah, I could go for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
A night out drinking and carousing and having a good time. Yeah, I could do that.
I think it would be great. Just saying.
I mean, normally when somebody says a night with,
yeah,
But
at the same time, when things are happening during this wonderful episode, we see Riri in with the Dean of Students and Professor Wilkes. Now, for those that don't know who Professor Wilkes is, this is not the first time we've seen him. We saw him when Tony Stark was speaking at MIT in Captain America Civil War, where he specifically asked, hey, did the professors get a part of this grant as well? Because all of their projects were fully funded by the Stark Foundation. To be honest, I think that was a little pushy at the time.
Well, but he was trying to
get his projects funded. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to steal students' money. That's what their property, their inventions, and that kind of thing. But at the time that when he did that, wasn't he also trying to change over from being the weapons guy to Stark?
instead of the destruction guy, the helpful guy, trying
Stark?
to change his image and all that?
Stark?
Yeah.
Oh, he was already done that. He was already Iron Man for years.
No. I don't mean I'm talking about for Stark Industries.
Yeah. Oh,
They,
yeah.
they were the weapons people, and wasn't he trying to change it over to something that was helpful?
Yeah, but he was already past that. They
okay.
had already they had already done that because like I said, that was Captain America Civil War. So that has gone. He's already did what he needed to do.
Okay. Okay.
So Riri wants her grant extended another year because she thinks she can get everything to work no problem if she gets that grant. And that's when they start listing all the problems that she's had. One thing after another. And also some of the things that they were doing, she was doing on the black market, selling jump drives. And
massive plagiarism.
Yes. Which, if you think about it, wasn't really her doing the plagiarism. It was everybody else because they were buying stuff off of her to pass classes. So, yeah. Not to mention the failed experiment that hurt Wilkes that we see. We see him go flying. But also the fact that she wasn't going to her classes.
Yes.
She hasn't gone to any classes whatsoever. And, oh boy. Even Tony Stark will tell you may be a genius, but you need to go to class. Doesn't matter if you prove the professor wrong or not, but it is. Big Tank wants to know if you were thinking of Justin Hammer from Iron Man 2. And
I don't know.
The King.
I don't know. Just forget I talked about that.
We're just gonna that was just a diverted path that we just brought him back.
It was one of them stray thoughts that was in that. You know how that goes.
I do. I
It was a
do.
stray thought that found its way to the vocal cords, and
And when you have over 15 years, right, of Marvel movies, you can get lost very quickly.
yeah.
Very quickly.
Remember, I am the dumbass redneck.
Right? Is it?
No matter how much you like to say that I'm getting geekish, the dumbass redneck is still there.
That's true.
And still very, very, very powerful.
But it's 2025, so what, 2008 was when Iron Man? 17 years. We're almost at the 20-year mark for Marvel movies with Marvel Studios. Whew. Damn.
Yeah, and I mean, that's, you throw all the little, series and stuff that they've been doing over the last, 5 years or so.
Yeah.
It adds even more to the plate.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, the buffet just got really freaking long when you add that onto the Marvel buffet.
Truth. Which is awesome. There were some, sketchy things, but personally, I thought they all worked. They did. Could they have been a little bit better? Probably.
They've gotten better as they've gone along.
Probably. The funny thing about Ironheart right now is there's a lot of mixed conceptions with this series. And people have been review shaming, because that's been a thing over the last couple of years. Like, they've been bombing Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, like all these other websites that critics go on. And to be honest, they're not real critics these days anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. And review bombing the hell out of the series. So far, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. So, as she gets kicked out of MIT, they decide that they're gonna allow her to go get her things, which means she gets to go into the lab and get whatever she needs and leave. So, this is classic Tony Stark mentality right here, because she just called every single piece of that suit that she was developing all to her without biometrics, mind you. Just calling them over, and she's just suiting up.
Right.
To the point where even they wanted that suit, but she had it all around that lab that nobody could find the pieces. So the good thing is they couldn't take the suit because she funded it herself. Hence all the plagiarism and all the other projects that she was doing for other students, and, getting a lot of money. Now she's a girl of the streets of Chicago.
Right.
And I absolutely loved this part where not only did she suit up, but also flew out the window or through an open door. It's kind of like those double doors, like the barn doors.
Mm-hmm.
And called up her AI called Trevor, which to me was a little bit of a callback to Trevor Slattery from Iron Man 3, also known as the fake Mandarin. But also reminded me of the stupid paperclip from Windows 95. Would you like to?
Yeah, but instead of a paperclip, it's a pencil.
Yeah. But it reminded me of that paperclip from Windows 95.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
But
looks like you're trying to save a file. Would you like some help?
Yeah. But here's the thing. He was MIT's AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she had to log in.
So she had to use her student login in order to get it to work properly. Which I thought was a great touch, because if you think about it, when you go into a library at a college, you have to have a login. Whether it's an email with the school or anything like that, you have to log in and use that password.
Right.
When I went to WestCon, I had that, and then I changed it. So all the access was on my email accounts. Like, nope. I used my login, my username to get in, but all emails and everything went directly to me. They didn't go to college email. Like, no,
right.
that's not the email I'm using. No way. Nope. I will use my Gmail. Thank you. So she tells Trevor, set a course for Chicago and let's go home. So she does. And she's laughing and having a ball.
One of the things that I liked, that I found funny about the pencil was, go ahead.
Before you get into that, Mike just chimed in on Facebook. I guess I should watch it because of the spoilers, LOL. Does Wakanda know about this suit? Yes. They do. And, oh, hi, by the way. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Guess what day it is? I warned you. I told you over the weekend to watch it.
Nobody listens to you.
Nobody listens to me.
Nobody listens. You should know that by now. No. I don't even listen to you.
That is not true.
Well, okay. I listen, but I don't comprehend.
That is true. I cannot argue with that at all.
Adaptability is one thing I have. Okay. But what I found funny about the pencil, as I call him,
yep,
was how literal he took everything that she said. Because she had to try like 3 or 4 different ways of saying, take me to Chicago. Plot
yes.
a course. Yeah, a course.
Try again.
Plot a course to Chicago. And I just found it funny how literal he was.
Oh yeah. I mean, but you know what? That's the type of reaction that you would probably get from a computer AI for a school. Because think about it. When you do voice to text, it never comes out right. Ever.
Very true. Very true.
Ever.
Yeah, and the one thing that I was thinking about as she was going through all of this is, one, how is nobody spotting her?
Right.
As she's flying around. But then, my question was, who were the 2 guys? When she got into Chicago, who were the 2 guys that were standing on the bridge that saw her fly by?
I think they were just passerbys.
No, I think they were members that the guys that were trying to pull off the robbery. Weren't they part of that gang?
Yeah. That's right.
Because they were talking about how they needed to get a better tech guy.
Yes.
For the crew.
Yes.
I mean, what? Oh, the Hood.
The Hood.
The Hood gang.
Yes. We finally see the Hood in real time. The live action, the Hood, because we saw the Hood in What If. It was a different character.
Oh, that's right.
Uh-huh. So the Hood is the main. I don't know if he's one of the main baddies. I haven't decided yet, but he is one of the main baddies. That's for sure. But
to me, it kind of feels like I mean, I really haven't seen much with him yet, but the feel that I get from him is like the bad guy version of, Jesus, the guy with the cape.
Doctor Strange.
Wow.
So,
can I go take a nap and come back and try this again?
So I have a
Wow.
little bit of a theory on that, and we'll get into it at the end of this episode, because
Okay.
the theory that I have, and I'm sure people may agree with me on, it does kind of tie to Doctor Strange, but we'll get there. So we've got the Hood and his gang, and each member of the gang they're showing in the process of doing a robbery. Yes. Mike's like shocked. No, trust me.
Don't worry, Mike. This is perfectly normal for me. So,
Yeah. I've got a theory, Mike. Don't you worry.
He's got theories about everything if you ask him.
I really do. We were talking about this on Saturday too, because I saw Mike on Saturday. I even told him, like, dude, you got to watch it. Monday's coming quick. You got to watch it. Did he watch it? No.
Apparently not.
What am I going to do with you, Mike? But anyway, so we start seeing members of the Hood's gang. Can you give him a list of Marvel characters with their picture for him? Oh, I could.
Still wouldn't do any good, Mike.
He wouldn't remember. Well, no, that's not true.
I'd lose it.
That's not true. You would hold your own. Like, if it came to, your regular Avengers and some of the X-Men, you would hold your own. You'd be fine.
Yeah.
But some of the smaller characters, like if I showed him a picture of Ironheart and he had absolutely no idea who Ironheart was, he wouldn't know. He wouldn't be able. He would say something along the lines of Iron Man, but I'd be
Put it this way, Mike. What are new characters to me?
I've seen them all.
Are old characters for him.
It's true.
I kind of float on top of the water, of the Marvel water, on a jet ski, where he's in a freaking Neptune submarine scanning the bottom of the ocean.
Excuse me, I'm on a satellite going, there it is.
No, I like it better when you're sitting in an area where you can get crushed in a heartbeat.
I don't want to do that. That's gonna suck.
It keeps you on your toes, man.
But maybe we should do that one show. Bring up pictures and see if you can hold your own and name who they are without looking them up.
We could try it. Let's do it now.
No, we got to finish this.
Mike, you see what you... I don't like you anymore, Mike.
Rabbit hole.
No, because now I'm going to be put on the spot.
Rabbit holes are usually reserved for Tuesdays.
I'm used to being thrown under the bus on Tuesdays.
Yes, it's true.
Mondays, he's usually pretty nice to me and just, straps me to the front of the bus.
I'm very nice. I'm very nice.
Yeah, Mike says it's definitely hard, especially with this multiverse. And then you go in and you throw people like the Hood and his gang into the whole mix.
Yes.
And
the Hood, we have John King, we got Slug. Those are two of our wonderful members. Then we also have Jerry and Roz Blood, who are twins. Then we also have Clown, and we start with Rampage. And each one has their own special background, so to speak. For example, Rampage is the tech guy.
But nobody calls him Rampage.
Nobody calls him Rampage.
Real quick, Sully, I want to say hi to our good friend from across the northern border. Our good friend Carol, who says, Carol? I don't have to watch the shows because I listen to these two and I know what happened.
That's true. It's true. But I still recommend watching the show.
Mm-hmm. If you can.
Yeah. Big Tank says he loves Rampage, the guy who plays him. Yeah, he plays some pretty good roles. That was, what's his name? Eric Andre.
Yeah.
Who
the Eric Andre show.
Yes. And I also think there was a little bit of a situation with him where in Agatha all along he had a role, but he didn't. He wasn't in it at all.
Well, that kind of hurts.
But he does share a birthday with Robert Downey Jr. This is now the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon portion of the show.
Right.
But we're going to get back to the Hood's gang, because this is one of those things where they're obviously blatant criminals. The Hood alone is led by Parker Robbins, who is the Hood in the Marvel Comics, by the way. So don't question that just yet. But they're only going after millionaires or billionaires and their companies. They try to get them put on payroll, 6-figure incomes, no questions asked, and they don't have to show up for work, like that, the whole shebang. And it's working for them. It's working for them. And the first time we see them all is when they're in the middle of a heist. And what would you say? I don't think it goes horribly wrong, but it has some mishaps. Wouldn't you agree?
On Rampage's part, most definitely.
Yes. And the entire time he's saying, "Yo, call me Rampage. I'm Rampage." And they're like, no.
Nobody calls you that.
No. So they decide to blow the entrance, and cops are called and all that good stuff. And, they start blaming Stewart/Rampage for the failure of what had happened. And as they're changing things out, because, they had to abandon ship and run, Clown asks Hood if he needs anything else. And he says, "Nope. You did your jobs. Go rest. Go have fun. Take a nap. And, oh, by the way, because of Stewart's failure, you're fired. We're going to find a replacement."
Well, at the time, he wasn't fired. He was still part of the crew, but they when they were on the bridge,
yes,
just before Riri flew over them, they were saying, we need to find somebody better than not Rampage.
We need to find that.
Yeah.
And we need to do it before
our next job.
And that's when they see Riri fly overhead. Now,
where are we going to find somebody that smart?
this is what I thought was really cool, especially with this episode. Because as Riri's flying home, we get introduced to what happens when somebody gets expelled from MIT in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It took them a little while to do it. They're usually a little quicker than that.
They usually are. But Trevor is scanning her bio signs, saying, by the way, your heart rate's this, and, checking all her biometrics. And she's ignoring him. And she also says to Trevor, you need to text Xavier Washington and ask him to meet her at her mom's house. And all of a sudden, Riri tells Trevor, and mind you, this is very important, folks, very important, to stabilize the cabin pressure because she's starting to lose her heads-up display.
And she's not getting enough air.
Yeah, because she's not getting enough air. Her heads-up display is going out of whack. And that's when her heads-up display says, MIT student access has expired.
Logging
Student
out.
expelled.
Logging out of account.
Yep. Now, this was cool because this was a great symbolic scene for this.
Yes.
Because as she's falling from the sky, there's a man preaching about how Thanos was just the beginning and Tony Stark can't save them anymore. Uh-huh. Yeah, one of those street preachers of, we're all gonna die. I didn't even think they still had those, to be honest. Like, I really didn't.
Well, they just went into hiding for a little while.
Yeah, but in this case, they brought him out, no problem. And as she falls out of the sky, she crashes, rolls, and pieces of the suit are all over the place. When she,
I love what it said when they panned back.
which was
Ironheart.
yes, it did show Iron.
And she was the A.
She was, which was a great way to title it.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. It was a great way to title it. And that correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they got that from Ms. Marvel, where all the Ms. Marvel titles were all in different spots, or Agatha All Along was all in different spots, I think too. But I like that they're doing that, you know,
Yeah.
because that way you're not seeing a full intro, you're not seeing intro music, you know, you're not seeing all these different things that interrupts the flow of the episode, you know?
Right.
Now, clearly, people are now mocking her because she's carrying all her parts to her suit that is now all over the place.
Holy crap, is this true?
What? You just got sidetracked.
Yeah, I was trying to look something up, and I went to a website, and it's a news website,
Oh.
and it says breaking news:
Oh boy.
Brian Koberger to plead guilty to all counts in the Idaho College murder case.
Lovely. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, it was one of those. It hit the brain. It came out the mouth. Sorry.
Well, I will now have to edit that out, but it's all good.
Sorry.
So anyway, with the broken suit, she landed. She. To me, any landing you can walk away from is a good one anyway. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
she sees a young fellow by the name of Landon. Landon is quite the entrepreneur for his age.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Quite the entrepreneur. And he says to her, you're a hot mess.
And you're making quite a scene. Would you like to use my wagon?
Yeah. I thought that was great. I really did. Really did. But we're going to ignore that comment as well because it's not what we're talking about. Anyway. So clearly she gets home and her mother is talking with her friends, including one very important person, the best friend, Madeline Stanton. Yes, Madeline. I'm saying it in a British accent, even though she has no British form whatsoever. Madeline Stanton, the best friend of her mother, Ronnie. And about all the problems that Riri's having, not knowing if she's acting
Riri's
out.
standing outside the door.
Not knowing she's standing outside the door, coming in, but also acting out because of the death of Natalie and was it her brother or her stepfather? I think it was.
Either stepfather or dad, one of the two.
I think it was her stepfather, Gary. So Natalie Washington and who's her best friend, that's Natalie, and Gary, who's the stepfather. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure. I mean, they do go into more detail on that. That's one, but not in this episode. And
right, you're pretty sure what?
That they go into more detail on that, but it's not in this episode. It's further down. Further down the line.
I mean, and Natalie and Riri were so close. I mean, that I literally had to text Sully and say, "Is Natalie a sister or friend?"
Best friend.
Yes.
Best friend indeed. Yes. Well, so clearly she's listening from the outside, this whole conversation that's going on, and finally just enters with the broken suit down, and Ronnie just runs over and hugs her daughter and questioned her, what happened? Why do you insist on building these suits? And you're going to hear that question quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you build these suits? And she says, because I can. Which makes sense. But there is a reason why she's building those suits. There is. There's a reason. So Ronnie goes on and then brings up the expulsion from MIT, admitting that she bribed a janitor to look over her.
To watch over her. Make
Not
sure
for
she's
nothing.
Okay.
Not for nothing. Smart, Mom. Smart.
Big Tank says yes. He was the stepfather.
Yay! I got it right.
Yay!
So did JT. And then, while she's being interrogated by her mother, Xavier shows up and Riri rushes out the door with him, making her mom pissed. Which to me is, quite all right. If you think about it. At least I think so.
I would agree.
Because that's the whole shebang when it comes down to it. And one of the things that I loved about this is it wasn't that high tech. It wasn't that in your face action right away. It was very down to earth.
Yeah.
It was, they made her human.
Very relatable.
A genius with questionable actions, but human.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I do. I like that.
Well, and that's one of the things that we've been noticing that they've been doing more.
Yeah.
Especially in the last couple of series that Marvel has done, is they're making these characters. I mean, even though everything with Iron Stark.
Clip that. Iron Stark. That's great.
Everything was Stark in his history. He was still above everybody else. He was the rich guy. He was isolated and everything else.
Yeah.
There's no relation there. There was no relatability with Thor or pretty much any of the previous superhero characters.
Right.
But here recently, they've been bringing it down more. A lot of it with Scarlett Johansson's characters. How they've been making it more relatable to people like us.
Yeah.
Which is, I like the fact that they're doing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing with that is you need that.
Mm-hmm.
Because and again, this is I've been saying this for quite some time. This is the difference between Marvel and DC. DC for some reason the DCEU needed to be dark and gritty and death and destruction.
Right.
Hardly any color. Everything needed to be like Batman. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah. You look back at Batman versus Superman, and that says it all of what they thought that universe should be.
Don't get me started on Batman versus Superman. But that's besides the point, okay? That's why Mike says he loved the Thunderbolts. You're already ahead of me. I've tried to go see it. Unfortunately, I have to wait until the end of July when it comes out, and then JT and I will watch it, and we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll do a special episode of Avenger Pretenders to talk about Thunderbolts. We'll see. But the thing with Marvel has always been, you're in the real world. These superheroes are in the real world, okay? They live in the same world that we do. So when there's a bombing in California, they do something very similar to that, where the superheroes thwart the day, or, you know, they save people or whatever. You know, when 9/11 happened, Spider-Man was one of the first comic books that came out after 9/11, and it was an all-black cover. I still have it. It's right above my head upstairs, where Thor, Wolverine, all the superheroes were helping the real heroes, the police and fire, clean up and save people and do what they can. They're always gonna be in that real world. Sure, it's exaggerated because you have geniuses who make iron suits and can fly. Spider powers, Captain America's, all that good stuff. So I like that they're bringing it back to the way things were, where these people, all those superheroes, are real people. Riri is down on her luck. She's a genius. Mm-hmm. She has no money. What are you going to do in order to survive? Especially when she was already traveling overseas, working in Wakanda, and built her first suit there.
Right.
So, yeah, what's going to happen next? You know? For me, I do start this one, right? Or is it your turn to start? I forget. Did I have evens last time? Or odds?
Yes, you had evens last time.
Oh, so it's my turn. I get to start first. So, and we are going to talk about episode number 2 right after this. So, yay, you wrote it down. Wait, put that back up. Put that back up. When we were talking about Andor, he wrote it down. So on the back of that, you now need to do odds and evens. Switch it. And that way we just check it off. So for me, since we're really getting into the way Riri is, that it's a continuation from Wakanda Forever, to being expelled from MIT, to showing a parallel situation with Iron Man. She crashes in Chicago. He built his first suit, crashed in the desert. A clue. The link between Professor Wilkes from Civil War and MIT and Ironheart, and he's still teaching there. He may have been snapped. Who knows? We don't know those details. Right. And the fact that they're still mentioning Thanos and everything from Infinity War and Endgame. So I'm liking it. I love that the Hood is finally in live action instead of animated. And it's Parker, which is even better, because he is the Hood in the comic.
Hmm.
But my theory for that, I think there's another bad guy coming.
Think so?
Maybe possibly two bad guys, actually. My theory, after I give my rating, actually, my theory will be after we talk about the second episode. How about that? So, only because it ties to the second episode, and you'll understand why. So for this episode, the first episode, they did a really good job. They really did. I'm actually going to start off with a 4 for this episode.
Okay.
4 arc reactors, even though Riri Williams does not use an arc reactor.
I was going to do Ironheart helmets.
Oh, there you go. Ironheart helmet. There you go. 4 Ironheart helmets for this episode.
Cool.
What you got? Ironheart, I'm odds, you're evens. Let's do it. Good thing there's only 6 episodes.
Thank God. The one thing I got to say before I give my review on this episode is something that I told you at the beginning of the show before we went on air.
Yep.
I love the way that they are ending these episodes.
Oh.
It is just so unique.
It really is, if you think about it.
You know, I mean, Riri passing out because all of a sudden Natalie is standing in front of her talking to her.
We didn't even get to that part yet.
But that was episode 1. That was episode 1.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was, because episode 2 starts with her waking up from passing out. But yes, I have to agree with you on all your points for episode 1. I loved how towards the end of episode 1, just to help confirm things, she was working on the suit, and she says, all of a sudden she goes, contingencies.
Yes, contingencies.
So, backup things if bad things are to happen. Alternate power supply. This thing, other thing. And the other thing that she pulls is smelling salts.
The smelling salts.
Or the smelling sticks.
It's great.
Just in case she passes out.
You never know.
And then she does the whole, she hooks the little probes up to her head, and she's doing the scan, the AI biometric scan.
Yes.
Because she has to fully develop a new AI for her suit.
Well,
because the one that she had through MIT, she can no longer access anymore.
Because Trevor was Trevor.
So Trevor's no longer, Trevor is ghosting her big time. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, Trevor.
But the fact that she wakes, she fell asleep while it's doing the scan, because it was 4 hours that said it was going to take the scan to do. And she falls asleep in the middle of it. She wakes up, and there's Natalie standing in front of her talking to her.
That's right.
And she passes the hell out. That's how they ended the episode. The hilarity that they have had at the end of these 2 episodes is off the charts. I love the way they're ending these. I hope they continue to do that for 3, 4, and 5. I know they probably won't be able to do it for 6, but at least for 3, 4, and 5. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm going to go ahead and I was going to do 3.75, but I'll go ahead and I'll put it to a 4. I'll put it to 4 helmets. I love all the background. You know me, I'm a background guy.
It's true.
Love to know the backstory behind everything. And they gave all of that and more in this episode.
What I also liked was the subtle humor.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't just thrown in your face.
Yeah. It's not in your face. Some of it's very dark.
Yeah.
Some of it's kind of dark, but it is definitely a new feel for the humor content in this series, and I'm liking everything about it so far. And even Tank said he loved episode 1.
And you were right. You were right
about
the way it ended, and I just looked it up too. You were right. I will admit. I will admit when I am wrong.
The redneck was right about something. Write it down on the calendar in neon flashing freaking letters.
I admit things when I am wrong. It is okay.
But yeah, I mean, and you think about it, you know, again, you go back to how smart she is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, she is developing
So
an AI system through biometric scans.
I was about to say that's something that Tony Stark has never done.
That's something I don't think they're even doing now. Although they may be on the edge of it, we just don't know it.
But it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And, you know, and
by
it's
the
kind of
way,
jumping ahead a little bit, but she actually asks somebody what would happen if somebody tried to do that.
yeah.
And he said it would fry their brain.
Mm-hmm.
It would fry their brain and kill them.
Which we'll get into because, oh boy. So with the continuation of episode 2, because it, and again, guys, these episodes, they really are. They're taking off right where the last one left off. There's nothing in between. You know, it's boom, boom, boom. And there's also no cutscene. There's no post-credit scene, nothing. Which I've been noticing they've been doing a lot with the TV shows.
Right.
Unless it's the finale. Just look at Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
So, the one thing about Natalie, I love that they use acronyms. I do. I love that the one thing that is very consistent when it comes to artificial intelligence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the acronyms. Tony Stark had a lot of acronyms.
Just a few.
Everything he had was an acronym. Jarvis. Even though it was named after the real Jarvis, all it means is just a rather very intelligent system. That's all it means.
Nice.
Friday. Female replacement intelligent digital assistant youth. Edith. Even dead, I'm the hero.
Nice.
Barf. Yes, barf. Not the Mog. No. Barf. Binary augmented retroframing, which is what he was showing during Civil War. And then, of course, you know, you have S.H.I.E.L.D.
Of course.
Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division. That's right. He had a nickname for everything.
Sometimes that's a good thing.
Cap was Old Man and Capsicle. Thor was Point Break and Lebowski. I mean, he had so many different answers for anything. But those acronyms, I love that they're keeping up with it because Natalie, although based off her friend, Natalie Washington, named herself. Well, if you don't want me to be Natalie, I can be the Neuro-Autonomous Technical Assistant and Laboratory Intelligence Entity.
The fact that she ripped that off.
Yep, was fantastic.
I mean, and it was, she didn't even think about it.
And Natalie has a lot of swear words in her library.
Well, you think about it, okay? The reason Natalie was created when her computer did the biometric scan,
Yep.
and Riri fell asleep. When Riri fell asleep, she was thinking about Natalie and Gary and what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And she, you know, so she's thinking about her friend and, you know, all this kind of stuff. That's in the front of her mind when it's doing this biometric scan.
Yeah.
So to me, it makes perfect sense for her AI system to come out as Natalie.
Yeah.
Makes
Now,
perfect freaking sense.
the other thing I have to mention with episode 1 leading into 2 was that the Hood did, in fact, hire Riri.
Well, no, she doesn't get hired till up.
Yes, because she was working on the AI because of it.
That's right. Yeah, it was just before she was working on the AI that night.
Yep. Defuse a bomb in an elevator, break through, did what she needed to do.
He said, screw him, defusing the bomb. I'm going to get the elevator working and get the hell out of here.
Yep.
You know, which...
And they were all like, yay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we missed a lot of episode 1, but...
We did.
I mean, you know, the way they introduced themselves to her and the way that John started everything...
Yeah.
by, you know, making it to where Riri didn't have to try and haggle and negotiate with the guy that owned the junkyard that she was getting all the parts from. So he went ahead and paid for them and everything else and then said, here's my card. You know, come for the job interview tomorrow, make it early, coming back, go through the kitchen to the, you know, because it was a pizza place, to the elevator and up on the second floor.
Yep. And it worked. It worked. Because not only did they see her flying over in the suit, but they needed the suit for the heist that they were going to do, which we get into a little bit more detail in episode 2. Because the heist, first of all, I think the concept is great. A underground highway?
Tunnel. TNL.
A underground highway that gets you where you need to go? You don't
without having to actually drive.
And you don't have to sit in traffic. People would murder people for this.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, it's also one of those things where you would have to be able to pay for you to be the ability to use tunnel. It was my thinking. They never talked about how you were going to get access to it as a us. Yeah. To be able to use it.
So that's the reason that she came up with the AI. And what I like about this, and I just want to I want to do this quote because this is directly from episode 2. Riri says, my goal was to recreate a very sophisticated Wakandan AI called Griot to enhance my suit's functionality. And Natalie responds very quickly with sophisticated. Sounds like a Victorian era ghost. That could be us, but you'd be tripping.
Nice.
And then she said, yeah, but somehow I'm looking at the hologram of my dead best friend. Which could potentially have issues. Maybe. But the fact that she did it in and of itself, and this AI is sentient. Holy crap. Natalie puts Jarvis and Friday to shame.
Well, because, you know, obviously Riri doesn't want anybody to know about Natalie.
Right.
Not, you know, especially anyway. Not mom and not the people that she's going to be working with.
Right.
And just a little bit of a jump. But Natalie sits there and tears down every firewall.
Which is great, by the way.
That Riri had built into her laptop.
Yep.
She went inside of it was like 4 or 5 layers thick of firewalls. And she goes from the inside of the computer and she goes and breaks through all of those firewalls so that she can escape.
Yeah.
To be able to go and help Riri.
Yeah.
I mean, if AI ever gets that smart, I'm terrified.
Yeah, it would be interesting to say the least.
Sure, Terminator, it's going to be even worse than that.
It would be interesting to say the least, that's for sure. So, one of the things that they talk about with Tunnel is the actual heist itself and what role Riri plays into this. And she's basically the hacker slash muscle when it comes to being in the tunnel itself. Everybody else has their own role of what they play on the inside of the company, taking out security guards and doing what they need to do. Now, at first, they had everything planned to a T.
Yep.
However, Riri did the worst thing possible, and that was drop the USB drive that had all the coding on it to take the system down. So instead, working on the fly, she had Natalie.
And, well, after Natalie scared the hell out of her.
Yeah, Natalie did scare the hell out of her by coming into her suit remotely.
Just appearing out of nowhere.
But you know, the cool thing about this, and I like this AI, with Jarvis and Friday, you never saw them.
Right.
You never saw a physical being on the heads up display.
No, only voice. Only voices.
Only voices. But with Natalie, she's showing full-on video. Here I am. Hi. Completely different. And it scares the living shit out of people, which is great. So she gets into the suit because, like JT said, she broke the firewall and everything, which was amazing. The fact that she learned how to do that very quickly. And, oh, by the way, before the heist, Riri needed some black market parts.
Mm-hmm.
And Natalie actually found somebody that dealt with the black market stuff.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Pretty freaking cool.
Mike says, so is Natalie kind of like the AI hologram in Halo series? Better?
Like it, yes. Smarter than it, without a doubt.
Most likely. Because like I said, and again, you got to remember, when it came to artificial intelligence, Tony had Jarvis, he had Friday, he had all these different AIs. Helped create Ultron in the MCU, not in the comics. In the comics, it was Hank Pym that created Ultron. But we're not going to go there. So yeah. But Jarvis was smart. Jarvis did what he needed to do. He was always learning, but he never actually had that physical form. Natalie, however, is like a digital download of Riri's brain, which Tony Stark was never able to do. That we know of. We do know that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. they have life model decoys, so I'm still saying Tony Stark is still alive, but that's just me. And I have theories on that too.
I'm going to change your name from Sully to Theory Man.
I like theories. But it's true.
I know you do.
But it's true. He's not dead. No one stays dead in comics. And I can tell you the reason I know he's not dead is because when he leans over to turn off his recording on his helmet, he looks directly at his daughter and says, "Love you 3000," and then turns it off. So there. Life model decoy. Introduced in Avengers. Shown in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's alive. But that's besides the point. So the fact that it was a digital download of her brain and her memory of Natalie right now in the MCU has never been heard of. Never been heard of. And the fact that Natalie is evolving as things are going on, that's even better and scary at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it. Okay. And again, this is a statement that we can jump back to.
Yep.
But for an AI program to have a panic attack,
yeah, that's a little rough.
Is unfathomable.
Try
yeah,
again.
just can't. You can't do it.
Try again.
No, I'm not going to try it again.
So
you say it. You say it.
Unfathomable.
Yeah.
Unfathomable.
Because you're smarter than me.
That's smart. Smart. Yay.
I knew the word that wouldn't come out of my mouth.
I tried to be smart. Well, the person that Riri finds, well, Natalie finds anyway, that's dealing with the black markets, is a gentleman by the name of Joe McGillicuddy. That says red flag right there. Because who is really named Joe McGillicuddy? I mean, come on.
Well, he's he has the inheritance of McGillicuddy liquors.
Sure.
Dr. McGillicuddy's.
Sure. He's also a pushover. He's a pushover. Mike says, didn't Tony Stark have that program that he did a show at a school where his AI, his memories? Yes, that was barf. But it was still programmable. And he had to have something hooked up to his head in order for it to happen.
Right.
He had sensors on. So if you go back and watch Civil War, you'll see that. You'll see he actually takes something off of his head, which is the same exact program / hardware that is used by Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home. We're linking. Everything's got a purpose in the MCU. In this case, though, with the black market, Joe McGillicuddy, such a nice guy, lives in a neighborhood with some rich people who like to walk their dogs on his lawn and not clean up the shit.
Yeah, he likes to let their dogs poop on other people's yards.
Yeah. Well,
Bitch.
Joe, who Riri flat out says, no, I know you're dealing the black market stuff. Let's go get what I need and we'll be good to go. We'll call it even. Here's your money and we're done. So turns out as they're doing all of this, she's like, red flag. Hey, you deal in the black market and all that stuff. So what are you doing? This is red flag 101. Are you going to kill anybody? Because a lot of the tech that he has is from Stark Industries.
Yeah. Well, and my thing was, they went on a hell of a long drive.
Very long drive.
Out in the middle of no freaking where, Ohio.
Yeah.
No, actually, we'll make it worse. Out in the middle of no freaking where, Iowa.
Was it Iowa?
How?
Are there?
Well, no,
farms?
I'm just using that as
Okay.
a descriptor, not as actually where they drove to.
I mean, I would think they didn't leave Illinois.
Probably not, but that was just as a descriptive.
What's the
Out in the middle of
what's the closest
Egypt.
farm to Chicago?
But how did Riri not sit there and think that this guy was going to freaking kill her and leave her out in the middle of a cornfield somewhere?
Not sure.
I mean, you watch them as they're driving. She's as calm as can be.
She really is.
Her and Joe were sitting there singing Alanis Morissette.
And I'm here to remind
I loved it.
you.
I didn't picture you as an Alanis Morissette person.
I saw her in concert. Thank you very much, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Jones Beach. Hell yeah.
But I mean, you know, and then they get to the silo,
Yeah. The underground
you know,
silo.
which does look just like a regular silo out in the middle of a freaking farm somewhere.
We're gonna find it.
But then he opens the other door with the biometric eye scan, and we see the stairs to the lab.
The basement lab.
Yes.
The hidden lab.
He's got tow missiles and freaking air-to-ground missiles and all
pulsers for a certain
some of the
Iron
shit
Man
that he
suit.
had in that thing was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, some of that stuff was good shit right there.
But he definitely didn't have the personality of an international arms dealer type personality.
True.
At all.
But then the switch got flipped. Because
after Riri got the suit working and flew out the door.
Yep.
You could just see that change.
The spark.
That little glint in his eye.
The spark. You know, that spark of, hey, you're all good.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you know, he was denying everything anyway because he didn't want the FBI coming down on him.
Right.
And
she's like, dude, look at the stuff you got in here. If they're gonna come down on you, they're gonna come down with the U.S. Army backing them up. You know, I mean, come on.
Yeah, but this is where, you know, as they were talking, he actually came out and admitted that he is someone that is related to someone that we know. Someone that we've seen in 2008.
Dude, I'm lucky to remember 208 this afternoon. You want me to remember back to 2008?
Yes, because it had to do with the original Iron Man. And a gentleman named Obadiah Stane.
Oh.
Yep. Obadiah has a son named Ezekiel. Or Zeke for short. Which is true, by the way, in the comics. And it just so happens that Joe McGillicuddy is Ezekiel Stane. Which is where, as JT mentioned it earlier, you know, Riri asked him the question of, hey, what is the possibility of using your brain for AI technology? And he's like,
someone scanning, they're doing a biometric scan on themselves.
Yeah. You know, I'm just asking for a friend. I'm asking for a friend of a friend who's got a friend that did it.
I like that because, you know, are you asking for a friend? Well, I'm not asking for a friend. They have some amazing play on words.
They really did. They had
both
great
of these
screen
episodes.
chemistry.
Mostly in episode 2, but they had some amazing play on words.
The two of them had really great screen chemistry together.
They did.
They really did. He was very timid and nervous, and she's like, dude, what the freaking hell is wrong with you?
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I say, you know, his personality to me did not reflect the kind of person that he really was.
Right.
You know, at least until the end of episode 2.
So she gets the magnetic repulsion field, and he refused to touch any of this hardware because fingerprints, and he didn't want to, you know, have it come back to him. And she's like, dude, just hold it. Like, come on. And once he was holding it, he admitted it was a good sensation to feel the technology in his fingers and his hands again. And
I love how he's like, it's so unelegant.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be fancier?
And she's like, yeah, no, not at all. Not
Yeah,
at all.
I mean, it does the job it needs to do.
Yeah.
Although she actually has to turn it off
Yes.
in order to be able to complete the job that they're on.
Right.
Which, I mean, she gets herself in some pretty messed up situations during this.
It's true.
The committing of this job.
Yeah. Big Tang says he also didn't want to turn into Pops, which is true. He didn't. And Mike says, is that a flirkin? Yep, he's got a flirkin. Right there. That flirkin is not hungry, so we're good. He won't eat JT alive. Wait, which one is that?
This is Pringles.
Pringles,
Oreo
yeah.
is the one that tried to kill me.
Yeah, Pringles was the one that tried to kill. I've got
live
video
on
of
air.
that. I've got video of that.
Yeah.
So yes, that's a flirkin. That's his flirkin right there. That flirkin.
That just sounds dirty.
Right? So in the middle of the heist, so now we're gonna go back to the heist here. In the middle of the heist, we've got Riri dropped the USB jump drive that had all the information that they needed in order to kill the computer systems for Tunnel. And because of that, she is now delayed. She's also going, oh my God, we're going to freak out because, you know, Natalie scared the living hell out of her, popping up on her HUD and going, I think there's another way. I think there's another way that we could do this. And as they were talking, Riri said, shut up. They can hear you. And automatically, Natalie isolated their radio frequency so they were on their own channel.
Yeah. She created a channel for just them.
Specifically for them. And I went, ooh, smart.
Well, not only that, I mean, and the thing of it was when she disconnected the connection with Clown.
Yep.
And everything. So Clown's back there freaking out. John's standing next to her. She comes back on and says, well, you know, basically says, I lost the flash drive, but there's another way that we can do this because Natalie told her, hey, I got your back. We can do this.
Yep. And John
and the guy's like,
said,
we don't improv here.
Right. Which I love. I loved that John said that. Like, well, no, we don't do improv. And they went, too bad. It's happening.
No choice now.
And I mean, it was so detailed with what they had to do to change things just to get the system to cut down. They already took out all the guards in the room, so now they were just waiting for Riri to do what she needed to do. And
some of the ways that they knocked these guards out was friggin' hilarious.
The twins alone. I do not want to mess with them at all.
No.
I would not want to mess with them at all.
Them's definitely two badass bitches.
Yeah.
Twin badass bitches. Yeah, no.
Nope. And they work very well together. So the plan on the fly was they needed to get close to one of the vehicles in order to get into the computer system and cut it. So what she did was she flew underneath. It wasn't the owner of Tunnel. It was another vehicle, right?
Correct.
If correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And
that is correct. But what they had to do is they had to get a car to come off of the platform that it was sitting at to break loose.
Right. So instead of the one that was going into the actual building itself, it was another vehicle that they needed. And it worked because what they did was they messed with the magnetic field to get that car up off the track to shut that system down so they can do what they needed to do.
Well, and the crazy thing was that Riri told Clown, you're going to have like 2.5 seconds.
Yep. That's not fast enough.
On my word, you're going to have like 2.5 seconds to get that bug into the system.
Yep. And
and they were able to do it and able to pull it off.
They did a great job of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Which then brings us to the fact that the owner of Tunnel, or the project manager of it, the billionaire, she's in the building now. And that's where the Hood comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, she's still sitting in her car.
Magic.
Just appears. Poof. Ha!
I will tell you my theory at the end of this episode, I promise. Some magic. He arrives out of nowhere, which is what the Hood can do. He's very good at that. Can go from place to place. He doesn't even need to be around an area. He
doesn't have to do the ring thing.
Right. He doesn't have to do the sling ring like Doctor Strange.
Right.
And all they wanted, obviously, is money. But I like the way they did it.
Yeah.
You're going to hire me and my associates all at six-figure incomes. You're not going to question it. You cannot fire us. We want stock options. We want this.
Full benefits.
Full benefits, the works. And oh, by the way, we don't have to set a foot into this company.
Yep. You'll never see us.
You'll never see us. And she caved very quickly. She actually signed the contract that he had.
Mm-hmm.
No lawyers, no nothing. Just signed it. And the heist was done. Everybody left. They did what they needed to do. Riri, on the other hand, when she was leaving, landed from back on the streets from outside the tunnel, and Natalie projected herself from the suit because that's the only way she was able to. And it just so happened, was it a security guard or a police officer? I think it was security.
I think it was another security guard.
It was a security guard.
Yeah.
Showed up, drew a gun, and Riri tried getting Natalie to disappear and to listen to her, but she froze.
And the reason she froze.
Oh, I know the reason.
Well, the reason I think the reason that she froze was because at the shooting where her and Gary were killed.
Yep.
That's the last thing she remembers.
Right. Was the gun.
Is seeing the gun, hearing the gunfire, and hearing Gary tell her to get down.
Yep.
And then she says, and then it all goes black.
Absolutely.
So that's the end of her memory.
And
so I think that's why she froze.
And they go into much more detail of that in episode 3. They do like a full on flashback with that shooting.
That was episode 2.
Yeah, also 3.
No, they do it in 3 too?
Yeah,
okay.
Because they go into the garage. You'll see it.
Okay.
Episode 3 is a whole big thing with the garage. But basically what happens is she freezes and then disappears. At the same time, however, Hood shows up and shoots a bullet and curves
but we didn't see Hood.
Right. No, you don't see Hood at all.
We didn't see Hood. All we saw was a bullet.
You heard the gun shoot,
mm-hmm.
and the bullet get curved around Riri and hit the security guard. Didn't kill the security guard, though. They didn't kill the security guard.
I'm going to have to go back and look at it closer to agree with what you said that it curved, because when Natalie disappeared,
mm-hmm.
when she disappeared, she made Riri turn to the side and kind of duck a little bit. That bullet didn't change course, and like I said, I'll have to go back and look at the track of the bullet. That bullet didn't change course until it deflected off of the suit and hit the officer. I think Hood was actually shooting at Riri.
You think so?
I do.
Why?
There was just something that he didn't like that happened in that operation that worries him. And you look at him at the end, at the little group party there at the end. He's still giving Riri the stink eye. Look at them after the toast, after they do the toast and everything, and Riri kind of backs away a little bit, and then they show the Hood, and it's just the look that he gives Riri. And Riri feels it too because she kind of ducks her head a little bit, and So I honestly believe, and until I see something to say otherwise, I honestly believe he was trying to take her out. Because if she hadn't moved, if you take her and you put her back into a standing position, that bullet would have hit her square in the spine.
Possibly.
And that's why I say I got to go back and look at the track of the bullet and see if it turns before it hits the armor. I don't think it did, though, but I'll have to go back and look at it. So my theory right now is he actually tried to take her out.
I'm gonna try pulling it up right now.
Sorry, that's just what I saw.
The episode 2, right?
Yep, episode 2, probably within the last 5 to 10 minutes of the show.
Let's see.
Because there wasn't much after that.
Well, yeah, there was a lot. I mean, there was a lot.
Yeah, she went to the concert, and then she went home and had the conversation with her mom.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Joe, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
All right, let's see here. Oh, you know what? Here we go. Let me see if I can pull this up. Probably gonna get in trouble for this, but oh well.
Gee, us getting muted? Imagine that.
What? No, not us. Never. Never like that.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna let me.
We've never been muted before.
Yeah, I think it's blocking me. Only one way to find out. Yep, it's blocking me. Bummer. I was kind of hoping I'd be able to show it.
Yeah. But like I said, I'll have to, I've been wanting to go back and look at that anyway, just to be a little bit more positive about what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But initial reaction is I don't think he pulled the, change the bullet trajectory thing. I believe that he was going after Riri.
Oh. Okay. Hang on a minute. So I'm looking at the picture and I'm hoping I can take a screenshot, because if I can take a screenshot, that'd be great. Let's see if I can do this.
Do you think it's an interesting theory, though?
It is, but I think I just proved you're wrong.
That's fine. That's fine. If you can prove me wrong, that's I'm perfectly fine with that. You know that. But
oh yeah,
it's just the way that he looked at her after that.
Let me see if not what I wanted.
You bastard, cooperate.
Yeah, stop it. All right, let's see if I can do window. Press Windows, logo, Shift and S.
Oh, hi, Viking Brewer.
Brewer, what up?
He's not. He hasn't said anything in chat, but he's in the chat room.
The nerve! How dare you, sir?
You bastard!
How dare you? Let's see if I can. Damn, bug shooting's not working either. So, I wish I could show this. Maybe I can show just you. I don't know.
No, don't worry about it. We'll just let's finish this thing up.
Yeah, but looking at the picture there, so he did shoot toward her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's for a reason, because you don't see the hood. You do see the streak of the bullet, though.
Right.
And it does curve to go past her shoulder. And it nicks the armor.
It nicks the armor.
It nicks the armor on her shoulder. And as it goes by, it hits him in the arm. Looks like it hits him in the shoulder, actually.
Yeah, somewhere that's non-fatal.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if I can narrow it down. But with Natalie frozen, he's freaking out because he's got the gun trained on Riri, and it slows down, but it does curve, hits the armor, and then, gets him right in the shoulder. So he doesn't kill him. Kill him. But does shoot him in the shoulder. And then...
Yeah, to me, there was just something about the way that, he asked her if she was okay and all that, and then he gave her at the party.
Yeah.
Just something seemed off to me. But I'm wrong. That's cool. I'm actually glad that I'm wrong in that theory, because it clears things up for me as we go along, instead of sitting here in the back of my head going, what's he going to do next to try and take her out?
Yeah.
But now that theory's been nullified, then we're good. So
now the one thing, talking about the party, they're going over there, they're doing the whole champagne toast and everything. It's beautiful. We did it. Good job, guys. You're going to get your money.
Y'all are family. I don't trust anybody but you.
Right. But this is where my theory will come into play, because as we fast forward, Riri does go to a little concert, so to speak.
Schmoo show.
A schmooze show with her buddy there. But then we're back at the Hood's headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see he's in pain. And the Red Hood is on a mannequin, like those old mannequins that were just the wireframe with the wireframe head and everything.
Flashback to Doctor Strange. How did the cape hang?
Well, the cloak of levitation was just floating. It didn't have an iron frame or anything.
I thought the cloak was hanging or was on a stand when it was in the glass case.
Nope, just floating in the glass case.
Okay.
That's all it was.
Well, but still, flashbacks to that.
But again, very similar to what's going on here. So, the Hood takes off his shirt, and you can see he's got tattoos.
Yep.
But you can also see his back is turning red on all the veins.
Well, and the veins actually extend.
Yes. And you see them. You see them extend.
Mm-hmm.
And John comes in ready to do some more tattoos to cover up those veins. But even John's like, dude, man, come on. I can't keep seeing you like this. It's too much, man. It's killing me that this is happening. And he's like, I'm good.
He's like, my punishment for what he did to me, or something like that was the line that he said.
It's his punishment. It's his punishment. Which, if you notice, the main tattoo that he has does have the Puerto Rican flag. which is good. That's the character, so it's there. But you can see it's over his his left breast, goes up his shoulder, down his arm, the 2 tattoos on the back. And what happens after that is John just does what he needs to do and starts doing more tattoos to cover up the veins.
Right.
While that's happening, Riri goes home and is talking to her mother. And her mother's like, yo, bitch, why didn't you tell me about Natalie?
Yeah.
Because
that was a very cool conversation between them.
Yeah, it was a good mother-daughter conversation that the AI that she invented based off of her best friend came from her brain, mannerisms, everything. It was her.
Yep.
It works.
And then she asked if she could do Gary.
Yeah, she did.
Like, can you make one of Gary for me?
And she said no.
Sorry, you can't do it, Ma.
Which is, in my opinion, probably the best thing for them.
Yeah.
And then Ezekiel Stain is at home the next day. He's, tossing some things out, but also starts getting a little vengeful from his neighbor there. Because, the dog keeps shitting on his lawn.
Well, and there again, it shows the change in.
Yes.
Because at home he had live, love, laugh, or laugh, love. He had it on several pictures. He had it on a wire thing. Even down in the silo basement.
Yep.
He had a neon live, laugh, love.
Yeah.
Hanging on the wall. And when they flash back to him, he's bringing one of the pictures.
Yep.
And sticking it in the garbage. So there's that change again, And then he turns around and steps in the poop that they talked about towards the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
From his neighbor.
And it worked. It worked. He's standing up for himself.
I loved what he did, though. He went inside, got a pair, and you can see just in the way that he's carrying himself.
Yep.
When we saw him the first time, the shoulders were down. He was very timid, wasn't very talkative, and all that.
Now he's.
And you look at the way that he's carrying himself now. He's confident.
Yep.
He's not trying to hide in the shadows anymore. And when we first met him. When I can't think of her name, but when the neighbor lady let her dog poop in his yard, she talked about the yard just got done. We can't let them. We don't want anything to happen to my black-eyed Susans.
That's fine.
Her entire front yard was black-eyed Susans in the landscaping.
Yeah.
He comes over with a pair of scissors.
This is great.
Chops the hell out of one of her plants, just cutting all the black-eyed Susans off. And then all of a sudden, it flashes to all you see is sky. And all of a sudden, Joe stands up with a black-eyed Susan in his teeth.
And rightfully so.
And go to back. That's why I say episode 1, Riri passes out black. This one, he stands up with the black-eyed Susan in his mouth, black. Love it.
It's great.
Very unique ways to end the episodes.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So, what do you give episode 2 here?
I still love the back history that we're getting, the backstories that we're getting and everything, but at the same time, we're looking at her genius in what she's doing in building this basically experimental suit with her bioscanned AI system with Natalie. It's amazing stuff. The scene going
awesome.
through the job and everything else with her nearly getting crushed Just the way that they're doing this has been really, really cool to me.
Oh, yeah.
So damn it, man.
It's cool.
I want to go 3.75, but I want to go 4.
Go for it.
The episode. We'll just go. We'll go for the even. We'll go for 4 helmets.
There you go. Well, you know what? I'm right there with you with a 4. I am. I'm right there with you. So far, I'm liking this.
Yeah.
I'm liking it. I'm liking what they're doing. I'm liking how they're portraying her. I love that Natalie is freaking sarcastic to boot.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. It works great. I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch episode 3, but we'll get into that next week.
Well, I mean, and the thing, the standing question that I have that I know we probably won't get an answer to till maybe 5 or 6.
Yep.
Is what's behind the wall? Okay, he opens the doors, hangs the hood up, hangs the hood and cloak up. There's a wall behind him. There's sound coming from behind that wall.
Yeah.
There's light coming from behind that wall.
So, do you want to know my theory now?
What's behind that wall? That's what I want to know. But go ahead.
Eventually, we'll probably find out what's behind the wall because there's nothing behind the wall.
I would hope so.
And the only reason why I say there's nothing behind the wall is because the hood is in fact a superhero. Well, not superhero, a supervillain. And
so he's given this guy some of his powers?
He's a
human embodiment?
So he is human. He is human. Parker Robbins is his name. And
right.
The hood.
What is he possessed by? It's almost like he's possessed by something.
Yeah. So he possesses the red cloak, which is the hood, and boots. And those boots were stolen from a Nisanti demon. Also known as bad. Like devil.
Pure evil. Like
bad.
Pure evil.
Yeah.
See, that's the feel that I get when I look at that wall.
And
so if that's the feel that they're trying to put out from that, they're doing a damn good job of it.
So the one thing that I'm hoping they get into is showing how Parker Robbins' father worked with Kingpin. I'm hoping they show the connection to a Sorton. Sorton. What the hell is a Sorton?
You pulled a JT.
I'm hoping they show the ties to this specific Nisanti demon, which is why I say I don't think the hood is the main bad guy in this.
Well, I don't either. I don't either, but I think, there's something behind that wall. That wall is representing something.
Well, I think that, and I'm hoping, and again, theory, it's just a theory. I'm hoping that a lot of people are like, no, it's Mephisto. Mephisto's nah, I don't think Mephisto is the real bad guy here. Although eventually we'll see him. I think we're going to see the return of Dormammu.
Ooh.
Because the Nasanti demon that had the cloak and boots stolen from is Dormammu in the comics. Which will then tie to Doctor Strange. So, that's my theory.
Interesting theory.
That's my theory. It's that we might potentially see Dormammu return.
Interesting.
And I hope they do. Because that'll be a nice payday for Benedict Cumberbatch. Mike says there could be a pentagram behind there. Yes, there could be. Demon.
See, I'm thinking that there's writing or something on that wall. Because you notice we can't see any details.
Yeah.
About that wall. Can't see any details on it.
Nope.
I'm wondering if there's some kind of writing on that wall or something on there. That wall just intrigues me. It does. That wall intrigues me. Normally, you think about it. In any other show, in any other movie, when you have a wall like that or a door like that,
yep,
it never opens to a good thing.
Run!
Exactly. Don't open the door.
Run!
So, I like your theory, but there's got to be some kind of mystical evil being seeing what it's doing to him with the veins on his back and everything.
Dormammu.
Like you said, I get the feeling of pure evil. And I got it instantaneously the first time I saw the wall.
I think it's going to be Dormammu.
You think it's going to be Dormammu?
I think so. Why not? It makes perfect sense.
Interesting theory. Very interesting theory.
If it's not Dormammu, it's most likely going to be Mephisto, but I don't think we're going to see him yet.
And, the thing of it is, this is the Marvel Universe.
Anything can happen.
Any freaking thing can happen.
Anything can happen. So, with that being said, that is the end of our episode for tonight. We did 2 episodes. We did go off on a few tangents. We might have been able to do the first 3, but I knew we were only going to get 2 done because there was just so much.
Yeah. Too many neat things going on. Too many things that need to be touched on.
Yeah. But with that being said, we will be live tomorrow for the Sully Show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Accidental Punch TV. And next week, we will return to go over episodes 3 and 4 of Ironheart for Avenger Pretenders, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the same channel.
Which, by the way, 4, 5, and 6 come out tomorrow.
Yes, 4, 5, and 6 are out tomorrow, but we're not doing all 3. And we're going to do 2. Then I'm going on vacation, and we're going to do 2 more, because that's how we roll. When I come back, it'll be
very
great.
bumpily.
So therefore, if you haven't watched the episodes, even though I just spoiled the living shit out of it,
there's a lot of stuff that we don't cover, though.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff, Mike. Go back and watch them, man, because there's a lot of stuff that we don't talk about.
It's true. It's true. But go back and watch them because they're great. I'm loving the episodes so far. They're entertaining. So, for JT, there he is. He's the redneck. And I am the geek. We will see you all tomorrow for the Sully Show at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you can't watch it, shame on you. You could watch it later, but it's better live. Just saying. Yes. And we will see you next Monday for Avenger Pretenders. And with that being said, the show is now over. And oh, by the way, just remember, Thanos was right.